It's training camp season, and today we're taking another look at the Chargers and getting a good look at Quentin Johnston. We're going to watch him make some plays, make some grabs downfield, work through some drills, and everything else. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're covering practice. We're looking at training camp, your favorite players on your favorite team, those rookies, those position battles, and guys you're drafting in fantasy football here soon. Click that button. Stop missing out on what your players are doing behind the scenes. But Quentin Johnston has been going off these last few days of practice. He's got some highlights. He's got some big moments. We're going to look at that today. 2.5 minutes of clip cooking right there. Here's another one. Getting downfield, working against air. Same thing. Against air. Herbert slinging it. Here's another one. He's got 2 highlight montages or packages from the Chargers on social media. That's pretty good considering how early we are in training camp. Here's a drop coming up. Right here we are. Like, I'll show you. Whatever I find, I'll show you. There it is. You got that one off Twitter, which is also proxied from TikTok. There we go. We're getting back at it. I'm not too big on like one drop here and there though. And we're watching Johnston, and I got more to say. There's some things that I noticed. About Quentin Johnston. Here's some more. Coming out of slot there. Boom, getting it. Getting it against air. Maybe it was more outside than slot. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe my perception was off due to the camera width or whatever. There he is, though, against air. Here we go. We got some bodies. Going downfield. There he is, getting it. He's having some days. He's stacking days here with the Chargers. Showing the feet after the catch. Probably would have been tackled with pads on, but still. Catching balls downfield, working through some drills. Building that rapport back up. Where's he at? There he is. Bam. Bringing it home. As that. But the years prior, most of the clips that you were catching, and they still are doing their warm-ups and stuff, but you're catching a lot more against air and less against 11v11, 7v7. Like, you're catching more of that here. This year. Like, getting more reps against competition. And honestly, I could be totally wrong because I got a small snapshot, but I'm covering the clips every year, noticing these things. That's a trend here with the highlights coming out from prior regimes and everything else, that we got more competition out there on the field, it looks like. Last year, we did not get as many clips from the Chargers that was out on social media and everything to really pay attention to. It was quieter compared to even now. They're lighting it up. I believe we already got more clips from the Chargers than what we did almost all of training camp last year. And they're doing a good job of giving us that access. Some teams don't allow us to get that. They're coming in hot and heavy. I wasn't really expecting it. I was expecting to get a little bit of Omarion Hampton here and there and a little bit of some other players. Johnston has been looking solid. So the thing about this, a lot of people were down on him. You look at the rookie season, and he had some drops. You go to year 2, and for somebody who just plays fantasy football, you just look at the top production metrics and whether he's competing with the top wide receivers in those numbers. You may still be down on him, but the thing is, he also flashed improvement from year 1. That's one thing you want to say, and he's the guy that gets the targets downfield, and he breaks loose every so often, and he'll have big moments. And he did have some games where he was productive for fantasy football. You have to call it like it is. Conkey's going to get a lot of targets, probably going to get a good 25-ish% target share. Is probably going to be like one of the top wide receivers in the league. You're going to see a run-heavy approach. So if you're looking at sheer top-end numbers competing with the top wide receivers, then it might be anticlimactic for you. But what if we ramp it up a little bit each year? What if we're getting a little bit better? What if you're looking at this as a Chargers fan, knowing this about Loud McConkey, the run game, you got other wide receivers stepping up, and he gets a little bit better this year. He's a little bit more consistent, makes some big plays downfield. Are you happy with that? Are you not? Like, we're saying if he gets better, because we are seeing some signs, and I'll just call them signs, doesn't mean they are, that he's getting better. We are seeing that. And what if it's just a situation where we're incrementally developing, getting better over the course of time? Because if that's it, then maybe you got yourself a wide receiver that you need to be a little bit more open-minded to. Now, the downfall could be, we stay the same or volatile. And if you're talking fantasy football, the volatility is going to make you pull your head out. However, with the volatility comes those upside games, those splash games like we saw last year. So how can you capitalize on that if we do get a little bit better and we have those spike games? Say we have 3 or 4 of them this year. You do not know when they're going to happen. How do you strategize for that to make money, to profit on the event that Quentin Johnston steps it up a little bit this year? Daily fantasy football, and then setting lineups when you're trying to be deep at wide receiver, or if your wide receiver stack studs around him, and it's going to be easier for you to do that because he's not going to be super cheap, but he'll be moderately low. He'll be moderately low in DFS week to week unless he all of a sudden just takes over, which is going to be hard to do if Vlad McConkey's out there soaking up 20 to 25 to 30% of the targets. It's going to be hard, but he can also buoy you up with those top-end weeks because he's going to be getting those targets downfield. He'll get good air yards. His air yards will definitely be in the double digits. His average depth of target, will be in the double digits to where, all he needs to do is cash in on a target here and there, and he'll have you a decent week for fantasy. And if they amount for touchdowns or if they're huge gains, then it could be a damn good week. That's the thing about that. But with the deeper targets or higher acuity targets, harder targets to bring in, which means more likely to get overshot, more likely to have a safety over top, which means those are plays that may not cash sometimes, which could affect his box score for you in fantasy football. However, those splash weeks is what you're looking at. And if you're going to be a little bit more consistent, a little bit better at those splash weeks, then you can strategize around that. So if you suck at setting lineups and they make you pull your hair out, this is the type of player, and there's a few of them in the league, that you need to stay away from. If you're good at setting lineups and you're in a position with your build of your team in the draft where you're turning and burning players and at price at Quentin Johnston, that might be something to look at, but that's on you in your skill issue or how your skill's at that moment. So that's something you need to pay attention to. I think he's ramping up, getting better. He's looking good on the field right now with that. So, of course, you're going to get some highlights. But the one thing we noticed, things look a little bit more competitive compared to years prior there at Chargers practice. More competitive when it comes to what we're getting access to with the clips. They're really going at it early. There's not much of a ramp-up process going straight into competition. There's drills, we've seen them here, but they're right in the competition, where prior years before, we was not getting that. We was not getting that in the clips. And I'm the guy that analyzes training camp clips for a living pretty much, and I can definitely tell you that things are ramping up between clips, between year to year. Whatever that means, maybe nothing. But I can definitely tell you, practice-wise, Quentin Johnston is something to pay attention to throughout this year's training camp. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear about that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.